Good morning. Today we will discuss regarding the vacuum measurement. Means it is a low pressure measurement. So pressures below atmosphere are generally termed as low pressures or vacuum pressures. When the term vacuum is mentioned, it means that the gauge pressure is negative. However, atmospheric pressure serves as a reference and absolute pressure is positive. Low pressures are more difficult to measure than the medium pressures. The vacuum pressure gauges are used for measurement of pressures below that of atmosphere, and this pressure is commonly referred to as a vacuum. There are two basic methods of measurement of low pressure. First is direct method. The direct methods of measurement involves measurement of a displacement produced by the elastic pressure transducers as a result of application of pressure. So for example, Burden tube, diaphragms, bellows. These are the examples of direct method. Second, indirect or inferential methods. The devices used in direct methods can be conveniently used for measurement of pressures down to about 10 mercury. For measurement of pressures below this value, indirect methods have to be used. Indirect or inferential methods for pressure measurement are used in situations where it is possible to use a phenomenon or a property which is pressure dependent. The phenomenon or a property to be used must be sensitive to changes in pressure in the range selected. The commonly used devices for the measurement of low pressures are Macleod gauge, Knudsen gauge, viscosity thermocouple, Pirani, and ionization gauges. Today, we will only discuss regarding the Macleod gauge and ionization gauges. Now, the first is Macleod gauge. So, it is employed as an absolute standard of vacuum measurement of pressures ranging from 10 to 10 raised to minus 4 torr. So, it is essentially a manometer and uses a mercury as the manometric fluid. The principle of working of a Macleod gauge is the compression of a sample of the low pressure gas, that is, the gas whose pressure is to be measured to a level which is sufficiently high so that it can be read with the use of simple manometer. So you can see the diagram. So in the diagram you can see there is a measuring capillary, then there is a reference capillary, there is a reference column, there is a, on the left hand side you can see the mercury reservoir, and there is a piston arrangement to apply the pressure, means to up for the compression of the mercury. And at the top you can see the pressure it is applied, that is P1, to the in the reference capillary. So first condition is mercury level for condition 1, that is denoted by the gray color, and another color that is used for mercury level for condition 2 after applying the pressure or compression of the mercury reservoir by the piston. So you can see the three stages of measurement of the vacuum. Now the step 1, you can see the three steps in a Macleod gauge A, B, C. So step A, to start the process of measurement, the plunger is withdrawn, lowering the level of mercury below the opening, thereby admitting the gas at the unknown pressure P. So for the first step, the plunger, it is withdrawn. So it will be in a upward direction, so that the pressure or the gas that will be admitted in the reference capillary. Let the volume of the gas admitted into the measuring capillary bulb and into the tube down to the opening be V. So that is the volume of the gas is V. The bulb and the measuring capillary are then at the same pressure as the vacuum source P. So you can see at the bottom there is a bulb. When the gas it is admitted, the pressure of the inside the bulb as well as the measuring capillary, that will be same after admitting the gas. Now the next diagram you can see, or the next step, when the plunger is pushed in. So plunger it is pushed in a downward direction, the mercury level goes up. Sealing of a gas sample of known volume V in the bulb and the measuring capillary. So after applying the pressure, or when the plunger it is pushed in a downward direction, so mercury level that will goes up, and the gas sample that will be sealed inside the bulb and the measuring capillary, and the volume of that gas it is known, that is V. In the next step you can see, so in a second step you can see there is a rise in a mercury level than the diagram A. You can see there. Now the third step, further motion of plunger causes compression of this sample. So again the plunger it is moved in a downward direction, and the mercury level that will be rise. You can see in a diagram C. So motion of the plunger is continued until the level of mercury is at 0 mark in the reference capillary. So you have to move the plunger in a downward direction until the level of the mercury that will be at 0 mark in a reference capillary. So when the mercury that will reach to the 0 mark in a reference capillary, you have to stop the plunger. Then the P is equal to H square AT upon V. So H it will be the differential pressure. Hence the measuring capillary tube can be directly calibrated in terms of pressure. So you can see the difference in the mercury levels. So the measuring capillary tube that can be directly calibrated to show the pressure. So this is a construction and working of the McLeod gauge. So you can see the construction in this slide, and this is a operation of McLeod vacuum gauge. The pressure to be applied is applied to the top of the reference column of the McLeod gauge as shown in the diagram. The mercury level in the gauge is raised by operating the piston to fill the volume as shown in the dark shade of the diagram. And when this is the case, the applied pressure fills the bulb and the capillary. Now again the piston it is operated so that mercury level in the gauge increases. So these are the three stages. So in a first diagram you can see the plunger it is raised in upward direction so that the gas that will enter, so whose pressure has to be measured, that will be enter inside the reference capillary. Then in a second step we have to move the plunger in a downward direction so that the mercury that will get compressed and the level of the mercury that will be raised little bit, so that there is a sealing of the gas sample of the known volume V inside the bulb and the measuring capillary. And in a third step you have to move the piston in a downward direction until the mercury that will reach to the 0 mark in a reference capillary. Then you have to stop the movement of the plunger. and then you have to measure the range. So that measure the H. So that H, it is directly calibrated to show the pressure. So this is the construction and working of the Macleod gauge. So the applications, the Macleod gauge is used to measure the vacuum pressure. Then the advantages. So this gauge can be used as a standard for vacuum measurement as well as calibration of other vacuum measuring gauges. So it is independent of the gas composition. It serves as a reference standard to calibrate other low pressure gauges. So you can use this Macleod gauge as a standard for the calibration of other gauges. A linear relationship exists between the applied pressure and there is no need to apply corrections to the Macleod gauge readings. These are some advantages of the Macleod gauge. Then limitations. It does not give a continuous output. It cannot be used in applications where use of mercury is hazardous, and this gauge is sensitive to condense vapors resulting errors. So these are some advantages and disadvantages and applications of the Macleod gauge. Now we will move on a next type, that is ionization gauge. So principle of working: an electron passing through an electric field in a gas produced by two electrodes acquires a kinetic energy which is proportional to the potential difference between the two electrodes. Now, when this electron strikes a gas molecule and when this acquired energy is large enough, there is a definite probability that the electron will drive an electron out of the molecule, leaving it a positively charged ion. The driven out electron is called as secondary electron. If the electron strikes the gas molecules, the electron may knock out an electron from the gas molecule, leaving it positively charged. So number of positive ions formed is dependent on number of gas molecules per unit volume, that is pressure. So this is ionization gauge. An electron passing through a potential difference will acquire a kinetic energy that is proportional to the potential difference. So there are different colors that are given. That is for the green color, it is for the gas molecule. Then blue color, that is for the ion, and red for the electron. If an electron strikes a gas molecule, the electron may knock out an electron from the gas molecule, leaving it positively charged. Now, the number of positive ions formed is dependent on number of gas molecules per unit volume, that is pressure, proportional to pressure. So in an ionization gauge, a stream of electrons is emitted from a cathode. So you can see in a diagram, there is a cathode, then there is a ion collector, then there is a electron on a right hand side, you can see there is a electron collector. Now in an ionization gauge, a stream of electrons is emitted from the cathode. Some of these electrons strike gas molecules and drive out secondary electrons, leaving the gas molecules as a positively charged ions. For normal operation of the gauge, the secondary electrons are a negligible part of the total electron current. Therefore, for all practical purposes, electron current IE is the same whether measured at the cathode, which is the emitting point, and the anode, which is the collecting point. So there is a cathode you can see at the left hand side, and there is an anode, that is an electron collector on a right hand side. The number of positive ions formed is directly proportional to IE and is directly proportional to the gas pressure. Therefore, if IE is kept constant, that is as in a most gauges, the rate of production of positive ions, that is ion current, is for a given gas a direct measure of the number of gas molecules per unit volume and hence of the pressure of the gas. The positive ions are attracted by a negatively charged electrode which collects them and carries the ion current. Therefore, if IE is kept constant, the meter carrying current II can be calibrated in terms of pressure of gas. So that is a working principle. So ionization gauge measure vacuum by measuring the current produced by the ionized gas molecules. So ionized gas molecules that will produce the current, and by measuring that current you can measure the vacuum. The gas molecules are ionized as a stream of electrons collide with them. An electron passing through the potential difference will acquire a kinetic energy that is proportional to the potential difference. Now, if this energy is large and the electron collides with the gas molecule, the electron may knock out a secondary electron from the gas molecule. Thus, the gas molecule will be positively charged ion. The number of positive ions and the number of gas molecules for a given gas and a constant electron current, ion current becomes a direct measure of number of gas molecules per unit volume, that is a pressure. So you can see the another diagram of ionization gauge. Now some advantages of ionization gauges. The value of sensitivity S is constant over a wide range of pressures for a particular gas, that is the gauge is linear. Some disadvantages: their filament can be burnt out quickly if exposed to air when hot. Some gases get decomposed by the hot filament. Next is the gas whose pressure is measured gets contaminated by gases which are forced out by a hot filament. These gauges must be provided with automatic cutout in order to protect them in case of system leak or break. So these are some advantages and disadvantages of ionization gauges. Thank you.